Welcome everybody to MetaGame Community Gathering 147. We already had some check-in with Trigs, with Peth, saying hello to Zero, that I'm seeing connecting now. We will have two great guests today. We will be talking about coordination and region respectively, so I think they are both topics that have synergized together. Really looking forward to know more about both guests. So our first guest is Trigs, and he will be talking about Kleomedes. I'm really looking forward to hear more about what he has to say in regards of coordination. So welcome, Trigs.
Yeah, thanks. Excited to be here. Looking forward to chatting about what we do.
Yeah, so everybody feel free to open their mics if you have a question for Trigs. I know he will he's up to for that. So you can take it from here, Trigs, and let us know about you, about Kleomedes, how it started and how it's going.
Yeah, sounds good. So I've been working in the Web3 ecosystem for a couple years now, going on 3 years, I guess. Got started kind of at the mid of the last bull run and got sucked into DAOs pretty quickly. I think what really attracts me to the Web3 ecosystem more so than the promise of speculative excitement is that there's the capability of new ways of coordinating people and creating new opportunities for people to, demonstrate their skills and value in meaningful ways. And so that's really what drives me, I guess, and that's what attracted me to Kleomedes originally. I was working for a different project just as I'd started out as a community contributor for a project and eventually got moved up into a leadership role and kind of got referred to this other project. A buddy of mine was like, hey, do you want to help us design a decentralized validator service? And I was like, wow, that sounds like a lot of fun. So yeah, I got dumped into Kleomedes kind of during the initial design stages of the project. And we've been working on turning Kleomedes into what we're calling a decentralized enterprise. And so the goal for Kleomedes is to create opportunities for contributors who want to be engaged, but are running into the barriers of like, how do you contribute? How do you get connected with projects? How do you, get involved in a way that is not only rewarding from a, just like a personal standpoint of doing something that you value, but also from a monetary standpoint. Most of the people that are involved in crypto just know about buying tokens and waiting for the number to go up. But there's a lot more going on in this ecosystem than just number go up technology. And so that's what we're trying to do with Kleomedes is demonstrate to people how they can get connected and engaged and use their talents and skills to, provide some value to the ecosystem. It's not just crypto isn't just for developers. There's a lot of people who don't have development skill sets who are still interested and passionate, about what's happening in this ecosystem. I myself am in that same boat. I've never been a developer. I've worked in software development on and off over the course of my life, and primarily as more like a business developer and analyst and that sort of thing. So I've tried to bring that same skill set and mindset to what I do in the Web3 ecosystem. And I think it's really helped to figure out how to open doors for people who are struggling to, connect to the ecosystem and find ways to plug in. So with Kleomedes, our main structure right now is revolving around our validator operations. So we run nodes on a bunch of different chains across Cosmos, and we have an Ethereum node, and we're starting to branch out into a couple other ecosystems as well. But primarily in Cosmos, we've got 30 some chains that we validate in that ecosystem and constantly growing and expanding. And so we use that validator operation to basically fund our community and to provide opportunities for rewards for community members instead of it just being, an empty token that people are speculating on. It's actually a token backed by revenue. And so participating with Kleomedes gains you access to a portion of revenue share from the the validator operations that we do. So it's a really interesting kind of unique system, I think, for trying to incentivize people to learn more about blockchains and understand, what goes into the infrastructure layers behind it, but then also open up doors for other things. So one of the first expansions that we've done beyond just validating is what we started calling the system of co-DAOs or collaborative DAOs. So we have our main DAO that is Kleomedes that is running this enterprise in the validator operation, and a couple of us from the community started up this other group called NearHub. And the purpose behind NearHub is to provide business development and community management services. So we do some work with Kleomedes as members of the Kleomedes community, but then we also reach out to the communities of the chains that we validate, and also just other projects, maybe projects that are on some of the chains that we validate, or it could be just projects, elsewhere in the ecosystem that are looking for assistance that we can provide. And so we engage with these projects and help them learn how to, build a viable business model. We do things like, defining vision and mission statements and roadmap development. And one of the biggest things that we really try to work with is showing projects how they can connect and collaborate with other projects. We're really strong believers in the concept that collaboration is more powerful than competition, and that's really the secret weapon of Web3 is this ability to enable what we call positive sum collaboration, as opposed to the zero sum nature that the traditional financial ecosystem is. And so by encouraging people to collaborate and to look to other projects that are on kind of a parallel path, or projects that share their same ethos, if a similar vision and mission pushes people in the same direction, they can go faster together. And so as members of NearHub, our goal is to help these projects connect with other projects that are on the same path so that they can work together and go faster together. Because as we all know in this ecosystem, if you aren't going fast enough, you will get left behind. Everything is going at Mach 3 speeds, it seems like. So that's kind of Kleomedes and NearHub in a nutshell. We're trying to develop this concept of collaboration through decentralization, I guess is the shortest phrase for it.
Great. I like it to be able to bring value with meaning and to close the gap between value and meaning. And the fact that crypto isn't just for developers, and that there are other type of talents that looks to share their chain process also into the technology. And I do think it's really great what you said about collab instead of competition. I do see it like somehow like a snowball effect. So the more people we share or synthesis of information with, we will get a snowball effect. We will have like evolution from it. The more people that understand the fundamentals of the technology and start having their own process, the more fast we will go without the need for that to be alone, right? And really like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the space is emergent, and with emergent technology, there's so much new things that you have to understand and learn and discover. We're constantly experimenting and trying different things, and there's new chains popping up all over the place that have new architecture and new ideas on how this architecture can unlock possibilities. And within that, then there's projects that are popping up on these chains that are trying to do new and innovative things. But the reality is a lot of this stuff is very siloed. These individual chains are building solutions for really specific problems. And sometimes those problems are a little bit too specific for the general population to really grasp and hold on to. And I think that's where this power of collaboration comes in, by connecting these projects together and by merging our efforts into more of a collective movement It's going to kind of fill in the gaps a little bit and help people to see, see the bigger picture that's being painted by all these individual projects that are working, towards these individual goals, these specific goals that they have. And a lot of times also, I think that, while we're trying to come up with solutions for a problem, if we get too narrow focused, we're going to miss, other possible ways that we can expand that solution to cover other solutions as well. And so by connecting projects together and getting people communicating, sharing in events like this, where there's more exposure to other projects and other perspectives, it really broadens the view of what we can do with Web3, and it kind of pulls people out of their silos and gets people engaging. One of the things that we talk about in NearHub is how, especially in the Cosmos ecosystem, we have what they call IBC, the interblockchain. And the purpose of IBC is this layer beneath the chains that connects all of them. It's kind of like the bridging technology, but it's integrated into the chains themselves. And so it's this interconnectivity on a technological level. So all of the blockchains that are within the IBC network are able to communicate with each other without having to rely on bridges. They have this connected messaging layer. And it's a really powerful technology that creates this interconnectivity. But the problem is that this technology is used by people. And it doesn't matter how interconnected the technology is if the people aren't connecting with each other. And so we're developing this system called ICE to complement IBC, and it stands for intercommunity engagement. And so our goal with ICE is to try to build these social connections between people and not just focus on the technology itself, but the actual people who are using the technology, and help build bridges between communities so that we aren't stuck in these individual silos with no, connection between us and no communication going back and forth. And so by building these social bridges, it's going to break down these silo walls and help people to see more of the bigger picture, see how what they're doing is affecting what other people are doing. And together we can combine those efforts into that positive sum kind of movement that we're looking for.
I like that, this distillated dimension of a social dimension of the technology. Can you read the name?
Yeah, it's ICE, intercommunity engagement. So the acronym is ICE.
ICE. I would like to know more about the CoDAO concept and how it started. I read it comes from the sub-DAO, so to know more about what is a sub-DAO and how a CoDAO differentiates from a sub-DAO.
Yeah, definitely. So, and this is something that maybe is more familiar to people in the Cosmos ecosystem, but I would imagine that the concept of a sub-DAO has kind of infiltrated out into the broader ecosystem. But the idea for a sub-DAO is that it is underneath a parent DAO. It's like a nesting process for DAOs. So you have your parent DAO that your community has governance control over, and then underneath that parent DAO, you can have these sub DAOs where the parent DAO has control over, has oversight over the sub DAO, but the individual members who are granted access to that sub DAO are able to make autonomous decisions separate from the parent DAO. And then often there's some sort of veto control or whatever that the parent DAO can stop the sub DAO from doing something they're not supposed to. But generally the idea is it's kind of like a hierarchy thing within DAO structure where you can create smaller groups. So for example, Kleomedes has a sub DAO that is our treasury department. And so we've assigned specific members to be part of this treasury sub DAO, and they're responsible for just making sure that our monthly budgets are in alignment with community goals, and that all of our expenses to get paid, and the distribution of individual funds and that sort of thing. Because the parent DAO, the entire community doesn't have to be responsible on a week-to-week basis for making every single on-chain decision that needs to be made in the DAO. A lot of times we're just paying a bill or doing some simple mundane thing that's just part of the operations of an organization. And so we want to use sub-DAOs to really narrow down the authority structure for who's responsible for making those decisions while still keeping them accountable to the parent organization overall. And it's a really healthy structure, I think, that's going to empower DAOs to be much more effective and have a lot less burnout, because if the average community member has to be responsible for every single proposal that has to go on chain to execute some transaction, it gets overwhelming and it burns people out pretty quick. So we try to compartmentalize decisions into appropriate groups of people to make those decisions while maintaining that general community oversight over everything. But that was limiting for us when we started thinking about what we wanted to do with NearHub and how we wanted to expand this concept of a decentralized enterprise with Kleomedes, because having the sub-DAO structure makes it completely owned by the community. It doesn't have its own autonomy separate from that. And we wanted to build something that allowed for more autonomy within these groups to create not just like a nested hierarchy, but more of a equal standing of DAOs that are collaborating and working together. And so we started developing this concept of what we're calling a co-DAO or a collaborative DAO. And the idea behind that is, NearHub and Kleomedes are tightly intertwined in some senses, but they also are completely standalone entities. So if something would happen to NearHub, Kleomedes could continue on. If something happened to Kleomedes, NearHub could continue on without it. There's the ability for them to just part ways in a very simple and straightforward, sort of manner. But because we're working together, there are synergies, I guess, that we tap into as collaborative DAOs. And so, NearHub can use Kleomedes' brand and reputation to gain access to conversations with the chains that Kleomedes is validating for. So a lot of times NearHub will reach out to one of the Kleomedes chains and offer them some, form of like business development help or something. If we have, some idea of ways that they can connect with another project, and we'll use Kleomedes as kind of our access point to begin that conversation. It's just sort of a way of tapping into that reputation that Kleomedes has earned. And then as a result of that, when NearHub creates deals that are compensated, if we get a commission for some sort of deal that we help facilitate, then we pay a percentage of that commission back to Kleomedes as sort of like compensation for allowing us to use their brand and tap into that reputation that they've built. And then in turn, NearHub is building the reputation of Kleomedes with these organizations that we're working for. So a lot of times NearHub will secure like a foundation delegation from one of the chains that we're validating by providing services to that chain. And then in return, the chain will provide a foundation delegation back to Kleomedes. And so there's a lot of like crossover of mutual benefit. Together, we're all growing faster than we could have on our own. And that's really that positive sum kind of value of collaborating versus competing. If NearHub wanted to, we could have just spun up our own validator service and got our own infrastructure, provider to run it and, started from scratch, but we would be years behind and struggling to redo all the work that had been done with Kleomedes. And it wouldn't have been beneficial for us to go that route. So by tapping into the value that we've already built with Kleomedes, we're able to launch NearHub much faster and much more effectively, and then bring more of that value back to Kleomedes faster and more effectively.
Yeah, this is I got like a lot of thoughts for all what you have been sharing, and I think it's complex. The problematic we are looking to solve when we look to create sub DAOs, and then this works as a parent DAO, but we are looking to play it different. It's just the natural process to iterate on this. and there has to be some dynamism between centralization and decentralization. And I think that we have to, yeah, keep going experimenting on these fields till we find ways to work on synergy, especially with big groups. That is where the challenge starts being a thing.
Yeah, definitely. And that's really like the crux of where we're at with Kleomedes and NearHub right now, is like really trying to figure out that balance between centralization and decentralization, because it's very early, right? Like it's easy for me to stand here and talk about all these things that we're doing, but at the end of the day, we're just a small group of people that are experimenting with new ways of coordinating with each other. And each step of the way, we learn something new. Just in preparing for today, I was reading through some of the stuff that, like the documents that I shared with you that I wrote. Some of them were over a year ago, and so much has changed since then. We're definitely due for kind of a refresh on some of these documents, because we just keep experimenting every day and iterating and collaborating with each other on how to, ways that we can attempt to try to solve this problem in a new approach. And every once in a while, we get a unique idea, that drives us in a different direction than we ever thought that we were going to start out with. And you just have to be, like you said, you have to be flexible, have that dynamic kind of attitude, and go with the flow of what the community is doing, what the technology is doing. Every once in a while, some new project comes along with this new technical innovation that changes what's possible, and you have to be willing to jump on that. It's kind of as an example, with Farcaster right now, they're really hitting the market and striking a chord with a lot of people. And I hadn't ever really thought about trying to transition our community to a tool like Farcaster, but that possibility is now there, and it's something that we're definitely looking into. And I think it's important for projects to keep that mindset. As new technology comes out, you have to look at how you can apply it to what you're already doing, and maybe change what you're doing to fit what's now possible with this new technology.
Yeah, I think that is one of the thoughts that everybody have been having these days with this movement of the technology regarding Farcaster and Lens, and how to merge maybe the concept of the meme and the DAO. And I don't know, but personally, I think that maybe there's a certain synergy like between art and science. You feel like there might be things that can come through this disruptive part of this disruptive tech, but the other has to come from the coordination and the social aspect of it. So yeah, I think that dynamism.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I really like that you bring up the art versus the science too, because I think that's such a huge part of it. When just thinking of it in terms of culture, that's something that's been on my mind a lot recently, because it's especially like coming through the last bear cycle. It was like a lot of the engagement and the activity and the memes and the that community excitement really died down when there wasn't so much number go up action going on. But that's such an important part of what we're doing. We're building a whole new culture, a whole new way of thinking about the way that we engage with the world. I know since I've gotten involved into the Web3 ecosystem, it has absolutely transformed my perspective of the world, because I'm constantly engaging with people from different countries, different nationalities, different backgrounds, and that perspective that each of these individuals brings forward is so unique and so valuable, and it expands the culture of this movement. And so the art and the music and all of these things that the creators are producing they're putting together this new culture that we're all kind of finding our way as we navigate. And so by engaging individuals who are part of influencing that culture and creating that cultural movement, it helps I guess provide more depth and more value to the science and the technology. All of this technology doesn't really do us any good if it doesn't affect us on a cultural level as well. Change has to go deeper than just the tools that we use, but we have to change our mindset and the way that we think about the world and each other and how we engage with all of those elements.
Sorry, I got rocked for a moment.
Yeah, well, technology will do that to you.
Yeah, I think there's always like a dance between these two poles of art and science, and thanks to what we are experiencing, and we have to understand that we are the first like generation experiencing this way of communicating with each other across so many cultural barriers, is that we are somehow like cosmopolitan citizens, and that we have an opportunity to impact the local of different places through the positive sum collaboration you are talking to. And I think that's amazing, and that's the like a deep aspect of why to take more care of the social side of the technology, like connecting roots to the wireless, connecting values to the wireless from wherever one is, if you have a clear thought about your mission, vision, and values, you will be able to serve the Web3, because this place is made for decentralization of narratives. So, anybody has any question you want to make to Trigs today? Feel free to open your mic or to go to the Townhall chat.
Well, as people are maybe thinking of questions or whatever as we're wrapping up, I guess I'll just sign off with a little bit of info about how to connect with Kleomedes or me. If you want to chat about stuff offline or have questions you want to ask later, feel free to hit me up. I'm Trigs_0 on Twitter and Telegram. And you can find our Kleomedes Twitter accounts, Kleomedes DAO. Hit us up on there. You'll find links to our Discord. Most of our activity happens in Discord right now. So that would be the place to primarily connect. We're always open to ideas from people. We are a contributor-owned operation, so anybody can join and start creating value. And from there, we just plug you into the community and figure out how to make your idea turn into something. So yeah, definitely hit us up if you have any ideas or just questions about what running a decentralized validator looks like. Yeah. Thanks, guys, for the time, and I appreciate it.